Guys, listen, I got bones to uwu and owo on the last video. I'm very happy. Also, it's day 3. Hello. But I'm here to talk about digital and traditional. Which is better? Bones, which is better? He says he's here for the character discussion. Useless. I think asking which is better, digital or traditional, is a silly question because they're good for different things and for different people. And I think I've done a video about this before. I recognize this tree. But now that I have some more practice doing traditional, I wanted to revisit this. I will say that digital is easier for me. I have a lot more practice with digital. I started using tablets and digital art programs when I was young. Partly because I looked up to a lot of artists who did digital work. I thought it was really pretty, and there was definitely a lower cost to it than doing traditional work. When I was leaving high school and working on my own and I didn't have very much money, it was a lot easier to just have a tablet and Clip Studio rather than spending money on, say, watercolors or markers or paints. And I could still do lots of color work or comic work without having to buy ink or paper or anything. And digital definitely has more of an expensive startup cost, I guess, if you're looking at one item at a time, because tablets can get pretty pricey, and so can software, depending on what you buy. But I did the calculations and it was a lot cheaper for me in the long run. But considering I was doing comics and just the cost of all that stuff, it was just way cheaper for me to get a tablet instead. I did all my math and I was like, yes, tablet. But I did also have a preference for it because I really liked digital work at the time. Anyway, so I have a lot of practice doing digital work. I have very little practice doing traditional inks. I guess that's not entirely true. I think I have quite a bit of practice, but definitely not as much as I do with digital. I did pretty much exclusively digital work for a very long time, for a couple years, and now I'm finally getting back into inking, and yay, Inktober! My dream is to traditionally ink a comic one day. I don't know when that'll happen because it is definitely a lot more time effective for me to do digital because I am much faster at digital. And comics require you to be very fast, because there's a lot of pages you have to draw. But one day, I will do a traditional inked comic. I admire the people who are doing comics for their Inktobers. I think that's really cool. Maybe I'll do that another year. In fact, Bones and I were thinking about doing that originally for Inktober. We were thinking of doing a mini comic, and there's going to be an extra layer of Bones, lino block printing the mini comic, which would have been really cool and really fun, and it may be something we do in the future. But we decided to do OC-tober because it was less stressful. We got really excited about drawing our OCs because we never do it, man. We're workaholics, me and Bones. Right, so I'm very comfortable with digital work. I have a lot to learn with traditional. Some of the things I really get flustered with are proportions. With digital, if I draw the head too big, I can just go in and resize it. If I do it in traditional, and I do my little sketch, and then I start inking it and the head's too big, there isn't much I can do. Except for readjust things if it's not too late, because sometimes I'll draw something that is very wonky, and I won't realize it until way later. That doesn't stop me from redoing the drawing, but it definitely saves a lot of time in digital when I can resize things. So on a convenience factor, digital is definitely there for me. It might not be that way for everyone. I'm sure there are some people who are I've talked to comic artists who have told me that there's just such a disconnect for them when they're drawing digitally that it just doesn't work. Whereas they feel a lot more connected to their work when they do traditional. And I totally get that feeling. It's very grounding to work traditionally. I don't know what it is. I found it a lot more when I was working with a non-display tablet, where I felt quite a bit of a disconnect between me and my work. It's hard to describe, but yeah, when I would there was just so much distance between my eyes and my hand and my heart. Whereas now working with a display tablet, I feel a little bit closer to my work. It's easier to get into that zone headspace, I guess, when you're drawing, where everything just goes quiet around you and you really just focus on the drawing. There's also less distractions when you are working traditionally. because you can't just click away and go to Twitter. So that's really nice. There's also just like an organicness that you get out of traditional work that I really love. I felt that quite a bit through Inktober, where it's like I put down an ink line and it's there. I can't undo it. I can't erase it. It's ink. I just have to work with it now. And you can feel that when people do, like, say, work with ink and water. So, like, ink washes. Bones is making faces at the dog. So, ink washes and watercolor, for example. You get some interesting things that just happen from putting water and pigment down on a page. And it's completely up to chance. Whereas I find with digital, it gets very precise. If you want something to feel really, like, I don't know, organically textured or add that, like, element of kind of randomness to it, you have to, like, manufacture it, I guess. Because if you get a brush, like, unless the brush is, like, randomly changing, you know exactly how it's going to lay things down in digital. It's a lot more precise and it's a lot more manual in that way. Whereas with traditional, it's a lot easier to get, say, like, really unique textures, etc. or effects, just with how, like, I don't know, the tooth of the paper works with the medium you're working with. So there's definitely that element of, like, uniqueness to traditional that I really enjoy. But yeah, I still think it's silly to say one is better than the other, because they just have different uses, man. There are people who can pump out 1 million comic pages traditionally, whereas, like, if they did it digital, their process would be slowed down. That's cool. You do you. But yeah, I really need to get over my reliance on a lot of the tools that digital offers. That isn't to say, like, it's wrong to use digital tools like undo or the eraser and stuff. I definitely am not a huge fan of, like, it's like Bones calls it, like, Frankensteining a photo. Or a picture, I mean, where you draw the head too big, so you resize it, or you grab different elements you've drawn and you rearrange them using the resize tool, and eventually you get some really wonky effects because you're just mishmashing things together. Whereas and I used to do that a lot. Whereas if I couldn't draw something, I'd just resize it until I felt it looked good. But it's better to just redo the sketch when things aren't working, because you get really weird looking stuff when you try to force it. So that's one reliance on digital that I try to step away from whenever I can. And traditional, I think, is helping me to get back to doing things manually, because they do look better in the end. Traditional also slows me down quite a bit, which is really nice. I'm a speedster when it comes to art. On one hand, that is a nice skill when you're making comic pages, because you get through them really quick, but it also really deteriorates the quality. And my attention to detail is not there at all. So traditional has really helped me slow down, especially with controlling the dip pen, because I'm still getting used to it. So I have to really focus on where I am putting the pen and how much pressure I'm using, etc. So it's really slowing me down. I like the quality of the lines. I think part of it is just the pen I'm using, but I think the slowness also helps. I get to be a little more precise and really think about what I'm doing. So if you're someone who doesn't, I guess if you don't like the slowness of traditional, you can always go to digital. Digital and traditional, they've got their pros and cons. You just gotta pick whichever one works for whatever project you're working on or whatever you prefer. It's all good, my friends. So I guess I should talk about these two lovelies. This is Daff and Brad. They are from an RP that Bones and I have. We call it the Space Kids RP. It's very similar to the Monster Mash one that I mentioned on day one, in that it's college kids and they've got college drama and relationship stuff, but they are all aliens. And aliens are real and they are on Earth. And people on Earth don't know about it. It's all hush-hush. It's such a weird RP, because the aliens are also wizards. There's this wizard council in space, and Earth is basically it's an experiment, kind of. They didn't create it, but they're keeping an eye on Earth to see if they discover that there's other planets and aliens, then they might invite them to join their space government. But for now, they're just putting, humanoid aliens onto Earth to, blend in. It's they go to Earth as, their student research project as they learn magic. So Daff, the lovely lady here, on the left, She's an alien. She's a human, but she was born on a planet called 5. All the planets in this government are like numbered in order that they join the government. So she's from planet 5, and 5 is very scary. It is very like, it's like a planet of warriors, basically, but it's like, you know, the modern age, so they can't like just go around murdering each other, so it's turned into like sport. So all over the planet there's like tournaments where people fight, and you gain honor and like respect through murdering other people in the arena. And so Daff has raised to be very tough, and she has a lot of PTSD from her family dying in the arena. All right, she had 2 brothers, and they went into the arena together to fight. Was it Cheese that died? Yes. So Apollo killed Cheese. They all have weird names too, because of her parents are like keeping their Earth heritage. So that her name is Daffodil, so she's named after an Earth flower, and her brother's name is Cheese, and the other one's Apollo. And I think she has another sister called Hurricane, Legend, and was there one more? There was other ones, but I don't remember their names. Right, so her brothers like killed each other, and so like she's got a lot of trauma that she hasn't dealt with, because you don't deal with it where she's from in her family. You just kind of push it down and fight your trauma away. Right. So like the main species on 5 are a lot of like asocial, non-social species. So there's a lot of like there's a lot of insects, there's a lot of reptiles, I think there's birds, but it's a lot of like not humans. Like that makes up the majority of 5. And then there's Daph's family, who's like very rare, like a human on 5. So I don't think it's as traumatic for the reptile and insect species. Some of them are social, but right. So Daph has decided to become a wizard, mostly to help her like win in the arena, because like she's not going to win against a giant lizard. So she wants to get magic to improve her fighting skills, and so she's been placed on Earth because she's a human. She looks like other Earth humans. She's hanging out at college. With regular humans, and that's where she meets Brad, who is a cute little dude who is in a program to become like a fitness instructor or something, or like a fitness coach type guy. I can't remember exactly. like a personal trainer type thing. So he's like a jock. He's a huge sweetie. He's just also a sports guy, though sports and being sweet are not exclusive. So I don't know why I'm clarifying this. But he's a total sweetie. He's a regular human. He doesn't know about aliens until he meets like Daff and a bunch of the other aliens that are on Earth. And basically the way they meet is like he sees her in the gym and he thinks she's really cute, and he like goes to talk to her, and she like attacks him a bunch. And she's really intense. She's like very angry and intense all the time. And so he's like, maybe I can talk to her if like I box with her. Because, like, she refuses to talk to him outside of, like, boxing and working out and stuff. Because she thinks he's just a stupid human. She's not here for love. She's here for fights. But eventually, like, they kind of become friends. Eventually, they start dating. She's kind of, like, she's never had, like, a good relationship. So she doesn't know how to handle any of this. He's pretty understanding. He's a lot more understanding when he finds out where she's from and, like, that aliens are real. Because, like, when he thinks she's just, like, a regular human, he's like, you're too much, you're too intense, I can't handle this anymore. This is, like, abusive. But eventually, they get their baggage together. She freaks out a little bit and runs back home. She's, like, finished her training on Earth, so she's gonna go back to 5. She gets in with, like, an abusive boyfriend. Eventually, Brad goes and chases her to, like, go save her. Not go save her, but, like, go check up on her. I think she was calling him a lot. Like, she wanted him to come say... Because she gets into... So when she's on 5, when she's back on 5, she gets into a fight. She gets hospitalized, and if she gets a counselor, who's another one of my characters, who's, like, a human on 5, who counsels other, like, humans and social species on 5... to, like, get them out of the arenas and fighting. So she works with Daff to like, help her with her trauma. And eventually she convinces her to, like, call Brad again. There's so much to this RP, because we did it one way through, and then we rebooted it and did another run through, as we do with many of our RPs. So Brad, I think in the first version, he goes to 5, but we scrapped it, and I think Daff goes to live with her sister Hurricane, who lives on a vacation planet. So they have like, there's like populated planets that are like basically like covered in civilizations and stuff, and then they have vacation planets where like it's just like there for beauty, and they might have like one area of the planet where people go and it's all beautiful and stuff, and then the rest of the planet is like uninhabitable. So her sister got out of 5 and was like, nope, not doing this is horrible. And so she goes to this vacation planet with her husband, and Daff, to get away from the arenas as well, goes to live with her and is cute. They definitely have some big problems in their relationship because it is like abusive. Like Daff beats Brad up quite a bit because like I think when they first start dating and like, you know, they're like doing the sparring together and she's like really beating up on him, he's like, it's fine, I can handle this, I can change her. And his friends are like, no, stop, you need to get out, she can't do this to you, this is horrible. And eventually he like puts his foot down and is like, no, I'm not doing this anymore. And eventually, like, they still like each other, and he's like, okay, if we're gonna be friends, you can't do this to me anymore. Then she agrees. And yeah, and then eventually they get their baggage together. So one of the things that, like, one of the fun things about the Space Kids RP was very much, like, aliens coming to Earth and learning all about human culture and being like, this is dumb, or like, I don't get this. Just like the culture clash was really fun. And so like, because Daff comes from this planet where everyone is super tough, they don't have things like the holidays, like, I don't know, Christmas or Valentine's or anything nice. So he introduces her to Christmas, and he's like, you know, you give gifts to people you love. And she's like, that's stupid. I haven't earned it. I can't have a gift. I haven't earned it. There's also a whole thing where, because it's very much like a weird meritocracy on 5 where you have to fight for everything. So she's like, I haven't earned these nice things because, like, I haven't won in a fight against you or something. He's like, no, that is not what Christmas is about. It's about being with the people you love. She's like, why would I want to hang out with a bunch of weaklings? Have fun at Weakmas. But yeah, it was a lot of that. It was a lot of her scoffing at anything nice and wholesome and fluffy. So yeah, that's Daff and Brad. They're really cute. I like them a lot. Brad's really cute. He has 2 roommates. Oh, I think I actually have drawings of them later, but he secretly has an alien roommate that he didn't know was an alien. They find many people on their campus who are aliens. He has another roommate named Henry who's very annoying. Brad puts up with him. They're bros. I can't really go into it because I'm going to talk about Chad and Henry later, where those are the roommates. But Brad's basically like the heart of the operation. He's just like, he's the sweetie who like holds them all together. So eventually, what ends up happening in the RP is like, the Wizard Council and like the space government, they discover that like humans are finding out about the space stuff, because like Brad and his roommates and all his friends like start finding out that a lot of people on campus are aliens, and the government catches wind of this. So they come to wipe everyone's memory and take all the aliens back to wherever they belong. And so, like, Brad gets his memory wiped, Henry gets his memory wiped, I think everyone does. But Brad's, like, the first one to start piecing things together. So they're also friends with, this girl named Kathy. She's in a band. She's one of the college kids. And so these wizards, from space, like, they all have this, like, innate ability. And so she's, like, a wizard. I don't think she knows it, but her innate ability is to not be noticed. So, like, people can see her and stuff, but they'll disregard her very easily. So, like, there's a running joke through most of the RP where they're like, oh, Kathy? Who's Kathy? Or, like, they'll be like, where's Kathy at? And she's like, I'm right here. But so when the government shows up to erase everyone's memories, they miss Kathy because of her ability. And so Brad is nice and he talks to Kathy because he's a sweetie, and eventually they start piecing things together, and she's like, how have you forgotten about Daff and Toby and all the other aliens? And he's like, what? So eventually he's kind of left to like wrangle everyone and save everyone from the space government, and help them get their memories back. And eventually they all go to space and fight a supercomputer that is housing a space dragon that will reset the universe. It got really intense. So yeah, but I will be drawing more characters from the Space Kids because it's one of our favorites. It's a really long-running RP. It's really weird. It's very eclectic. It was a lot of just like fluffy stuff peppered in with like intense space dragons and scary wizards. It's a really weird RP. I really like it though. It was really fun. Yeah, I think that's all I got. Cool beans. Thank you so much for listening. Tomorrow Bones will be back with more character writing stuff. Go watch his videos and tell him he's a smarty, because he is. And he needs the confidence boost. Bones is like, don't tell people. Also, you should go check out our call for submissions for a queer werewolf anthology that we are putting together. So we are looking for short stories and comic pitches that feature LGBT plus werewolves. There is a link to the submission guidelines in the description down below. Make sure to ask me your questions about anything, because I'm looking for topics here for the rest of Inktober. And make sure to subscribe if you want to see more Inktober videos, or if you want to see more videos about webcomics. I'm getting more awkward in my outros. I'm like Bones. We are becoming one. Okay, goodbye!